So Millie wants to know, what books from Batman's history would you suggest for people to read that you feel are key moments or pretty impressive? I got you, brother. I really tried to condense this list down to around 10 stories, but I didn't quite do it. There's a lot to Batman's history. There's a lot to the character, but I feel as though you guys should enjoy this list. I also kind of broke them up into segments or categories. I'm going to run through this list real quick, but we're going to start off at the beginning with Batman Year One, the definitive origin for Batman, as well as the canonical origin for Batman. This is a great story telling how Bruce becomes Batman, but not only is it a great story because it's seen from Bruce's perspective, but it also showcases through Jim Gordon's perspective and is a great story for both of the characters. Next, we have Batman: The Long Halloween. Essentially, this is year 2 for Batman, and this is a great story, not only for its mystery and its long-form storytelling, as well as his dynamic art, but it does a really good job at transitioning Batman from mobsters, gangsters, and standard criminals over to his more supervillain rogues like Scarecrow, Joker, Two-Face, Solomon Grundy, so on and so forth. On a side note, if you enjoy this story, I recommend that you pick up Dark Victory, which is the sequel or follow-up to this story. Next, this is a bit of a curveball, but I recommend that you pick up Batman Year 3. Now, this is the only story that has yet to be collected into a trade. However, eventually it's going to be. I think they're in line to do so. This story is told from 2 different timelines. The past, which is Year 3, where Dick Grayson gets introduced as Robin, and then the present day, where Dick Grayson is Nightwing. And it all revolves around Dick Grayson's parents' murderer, Tony Zuko. If you know the episode from Batman the Animated Series, Robin's Reckoning, this is basically the inspiration for it. The reason why I include this is not only is it a great story, but it is the canonical origin and probably the best origin for Dick Grayson because it's just an updated Golden Age origin for the modern era. Next on the list is going to be Death in the Family. Now, out of all the stories I'm going to recommend, this is probably the weakest one. It's by no way a bad story. I think Death of the Family is good, but I think more the impact of what it does is what makes it so good. This is essentially the day that Robin died, but not Dick Grayson. This is Jason Todd, the second Robin. This is going to be a linchpin story that is going to be the foundation for many other stories to come afterwards. So it's definitely a must read. Is it the best story? No, but you have to read it. Now, as you can see, the last 2 stories I talked about were Robin related, and this one is also. This is a almost spiritual successor to both Batman Year 3 and Death of the Family. A Lonely Place of Dying is the introduction of Tim Drake as Robin. Not only is the story really good, but this really does a good job at defining the relationship between Batman and Robin and what it means to have Robin as Batman's sidekick. Next on the list is going to be the longest and biggest story that I'm going to recommend, and that's Batman Nightfall, a personal favorite of mine. Nightfall is the longest story because it's broken up into basically 3 chapters or 3 story arcs. There is the initial Nightfall, which deals with Batman versus Bane. Then there's the Azrael portion of him becoming Batman. And then there's Bruce reclaiming the mantle, which is Night's End. This is a great story. However, if you're reading things in chronological order and you're not quite ready yet for a big story, you can always save this for later, but Nightfall is a beauty. Next on the list is my personal favorite Batman story, and a story that I would even recommend reading before Year 1 if you wanted to, Batman Hush. Hush is a great story, incredibly well paced. It has all of Batman's allies at that point, all of Batman's villains at that point, and it is done by my favorite artist, Jim Lee. Yes, I'm glazing the hell out of this story because it's just so good. I recommend that you read Hush. It's an essential to Batman. Lastly of this section, Nightfall, Hush, we go into Under the Hood, which is again one of the best Batman stories. Under the Hood gives you the story of the return of Jason Todd. Batman's greatest loss comes back to haunt him. What does it mean when that Robin decides that he wants to become a better Batman? A Batman that kills. It is a great story, which has a tragic, sad climax, but you gotta read it. It's fantastic. The next 3 stories are going to be during the New 52, and we're going to start off with the Court of Owls. Court of Owls is broken up into 2 volumes, and there's also some supplemental stories, but the main Court of Owls story is great. Batman and New 52 did a phenomenal job at not only introducing what we know about Batman, but introducing new elements. Not falling back on old villains or old story arcs, but creating a completely new concept, and one of the best concepts to come out of Batman in the past decade or two, which would be the Court of Owls. A must read. Next, we have Death of the Family. And all I'm going to say about this story is it's just a great Joker story. Joker, who is without a doubt Batman's most iconic villain, his arch nemesis, has had so many stories over the years. And this one, for a modern era, is definitely a must read. Which would lead into Endgame, which is, again, kind of the climax of the whole entire Batman Joker story that goes on in the New 52. I didn't recommend all the elements of it, like when he got his face removed, but this just is a solid, fun read through and through. I have 2 more recommendations to give you. One, the most recent, is going to be the Batman Failsafe stories. Now, this is over a span of 10 plus issues, but the Failsafe story arc, from Batman initially dealing with Failsafe, getting transported to an alternate dimension, and coming back and having to deal with the ghosts of his past, what it means to be Batman, Batman Zur-En-Arrh, and everything in between. Failsafe is one of the best stories to come out for Batman in recent years, and you have to read it. And lastly, which I didn't put in any particular order, but Batman the Killing Joke. Probably the most iconic Joker story. I left this towards the end because I think Killing Joke can be read at any point of your reading. If you're trying to do things chronologically, you should probably read this after Robin Year 3. But if you're looking to just enjoy this at any point, you can do that. It's a great story, and it's iconic, and without a doubt, the best Joker story. Honestly, if I take more time, I could probably make a more detailed and larger list, or I could probably condense this down to just 10 stories, maybe even 5. But I hope that list there is a good jumping on point or starting point for people who want to read Batman.